You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
Welcome, creeps!
Welcome back
to another Brain Stew Fresh Frights review. I'm Justin.
I am Jeremy.
That is correct. J&J, baby.
Yeah,
All up in your eardrums again this week. We're talking about another J's movie, James Wan's Malignant, which just landed in the theaters last week, as well as on your television sets on HBO Max. Same day. Not sure if, that's your thing. I know that's how you watch the movie, Jeremy.
That is. It's a strange thing, though, and even though I did watch it on HBO Max, which is at my disposal, you're paying for all these subscriptions. They're there. At this point, every network out there is having their own streaming service, and they're trying to put out content that's going to make you subscribe to their specific channel. I get it. It was there. I have a newborn at home. It was easier for me to check it out in a timely manner in order to review it for the show. However, if it was theaters only, I would have gone to theaters and spent money on it.
Of course you would, because you're a horror fan, you're a horror addict, you are the horror god. You would have made your way out there to see it. But on this subject, we haven't really discussed this together.
Not at all.
You texted this to me last week, and I kept mum about it because I was going to save it for this episode. Halloween Kills just announced that it's going to do same-day streaming on Peacock as their theater release, which you posted a rumor on your Facebook about a month or two ago that it was Netflix. I knew that wasn't going to happen because that wasn't the deal.
I bet you they were in the running, though. I bet you there was some bidding going on there.
They may have been, but I don't think Universal has a deal with them for. I didn't expect that to be the deal to be made. So It's Peacock, which I did the free trial. I actually paid for it for 1 month for the John Wayne Gacy documentary they did, which was actually really, really good. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm seeing dude, on Twitter, fans are freaking out, and I'm like, why are you mad? You can still see it in the theater, man.
Yeah, I think once you start opening up this for these big screen releases, we talked about the new Texas Chainsaw that's going directly to Netflix. The new Predator movie, which they just announced today, just wrapped filming. That is allegedly going straight to Hulu. So, you've got these big event films, right? Horror fans, Halloween fans, they want to see Michael Myers on the big screen. And he's going to be on the big screen, right? But Leatherface isn't this time. He's going directly to Netflix. That's sad, bro. That's sad.
Well, and that ugly motherfucker, that Predator. I mean,
Dude.
There's a reason why he's going straight to Hulu, because the Predator underperformed. I mean, I guess we could say right now, I know you're excited for it. I didn't think so. I had fun with the Predator.
I had fun with it as well, but seriously, the studio meddling on it, you could see it all over it. You could see that was not the vision that the director had. But
the whole third act was completely not even the same movie. I know what you're saying.
No.
But I mean, we got to see that guy talking shit out of his doorway and get exploded or whatever, and I was like, I think it's cool. So I mean, but no, with Halloween Kills, we all want it to do well, but people are forgetting to realize that when Halloween 2018 made that shitload of money that it made
so much money
in the top 5 highest grossing horror movies of all time, that was a fluke, man. That was not expected. It was expected to do well, but it just hit, and it hit really fucking hard. It showed that audiences really wanted to see Michael Myers back.
Yep.
But the biggest part of that was that they wanted to see him back with Jamie Lee Curtis against him as Laurie Strode again. And that was really the biggest selling point, was her character. And it's already been there. It's just like It Chapter 2. that didn't do as well either, and that was pre-COVID. So, I mean, the movie's going to do well.
It'll do well, but this is going to hurt the box office for Halloween, no doubt, because just like Malignant for me, I would have gone to the theater to see Malignant in theaters and paid to see it if that was the only option. If people have the option to sit on their couch and watch Halloween and not have to go to the theaters and not have to, pay the ticket price and the popcorn and XYZ,
worry about assholes.
Yeah,
like I did for Malignant, which I'll get into during the review.
That's exactly what they're going to do. And the worst part of this all is that as well as I do that pirating is a fucking epidemic for film companies. Like, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. So now you're going to put a movie streaming where people can just rip that perfect quality, and it's going to go all over every pirate website, and people are going to illegally download it, and that's also going to hurt the numbers. So I don't know, man. I'm bummed about it.
Or they could just do the free trial for Peacock during that week and watch it for free.
Exactly.
If they're still offering it. I mean, I guess my view on it in retrospect, after dealing with COVID and not being able to go to theaters as often as I normally did during that time period, I'm just happy we're getting it in the theater.
Oh, for
You know
sure.
what I mean, I'm just happy it's happening. I'm thankful it's happening. I'm thankful the movie didn't get pushed any longer. Like we talked about on our top 10 kills of the Halloween series episode last week. We're just excited that it's happening. So, I mean, it's a thing. And I think people need to be more aware. And
I'm so glad you said that, though. Because here's some bullshit.
Okay.
David Gordon Green and Blumhouse, they said, listen, no matter what, we're going to hold out. Because we could have seen Halloween Kills streaming last year. They said, no, this is a theatrical experience. And we're going to wait until next year. So that's this year. That's right now. And what are they doing? It's still going streaming as well. So unlike Malignant, I'm going to see my boy Mikey on the big screen opening night, or maybe at a critic screening if that's offered to us. Either or, I'm going to see my dude on the big screen probably several times, because I saw Halloween 2018 several times on the big screen, because as I've stated before, Halloween is my favorite film and my favorite franchise. So I'm going to be there many, many times over, but I'm a little bummed that streaming is on the table now.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, it's just part of the conversation now. I think every single big budget movie is going to have that conversation with the respective studio. It's going to be a normal thing. Some of the movies that did the same model, like that Reminiscence movie with Hugh Jackman, it bombed either way. Like, no one went to see it either way. Brand recognition is going to help a movie like Halloween Kills, or any Marvel movie, or a Disney movie, or literally, unfortunately, Malignant, not part of that conversation because it's an original movie that's not part of an existing franchise or series, and we're going to talk about that during the review. But we did mention Halloween, and I did want to make sure our listeners are aware that our promotion, our contest for full-size Halloween Kills theatrical posters is still going on as of this episode. I'm going to try to keep the contest going, Jeremy, for as many weeks as we possibly can before the release of Halloween Kills. So in case you didn't listen last week, all you have to do is leave Brain Stew on the Epic Film Guys an iTunes review. It doesn't even matter if it's like a sentence long. Just say what you think of the show or whatever particular episode you're listening to, and you're automatically entered to win a free full-size theatrical Halloween Kills poster.
Oh, free?
For free, bro. Damn. Halloween swag for free. I'm even paying the shipping price to get it to you safely.
Damn. Hey, bro, I'll throw a couple dollars at that, man.
That's what I'm saying. So, but no, for real, we've already gotten a bunch of reviews, and at the end of the episode, I may, spew off a few of them. They've been fantastic. I do want to say one of the best ever, opening titles of a review I've ever received before. Jeremy, you have to hear this.
Hit me.
As epic as Tom Atkins' mustache. Bro, I about weeped in the fucking bathroom while I was taking a shit reading that. I was like, oh my God. I'm finally mentioned in the same context or the same sentence as the legendary Tom Atkins. But which I hope to meet at a Monster Mania in the next couple of weeks. I've met him before twice, but I'm going to meet him again.
Same, me too.
I think I just need to meet him again. I told the wife, I'm like, you haven't met the legend that is the almighty Atkins, Dr. Chalice.
Let's do it.
Come on. Any convention news? Any convention stuff going on for you,
dude? Yeah, so I'm like you mentioned, I'm doing the Monster Mania event that Tom Atkins is going to be at. I'm adding Adrian Barbeau and Tom Atkins to my Creep Show poster that is signed by Romero. I contemplated keeping just Romero's autograph on it, but then
that's a tough decision.
I did, but
really
I added John Amplis to it recently because I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to regret not adding more names to this because I love Creep Show so much. So I did. So I'm going to that Mania, but I'm super, super, super stoked, man. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a movie that suddenly out of no, actually I'm wearing a Killer Clown shirt right now. Killer Clowns is a movie that is a cult beloved classic, right? But it's a movie that we haven't gotten tons of merchandise and
Spirit, man, as you said,
bro.
Spirit's doing a whole collection, full-size animatronic. The shirt you bought, you got there. They have the fucking masks that are amazing right now.
Dude, they're incredible. They have a life-size popcorn gun that they're coming out with. It looks incredible. It looks screen accurate.
I didn't know
dude.
that. I didn't hear that
Yeah,
yet.
I'll text you a picture of it. Aaron sent it to me. It looks amazing. I mean, dude, Killer Clowns is getting so much love right now, and I love it, man. It's such an obscure, awesome movie from the 80s. So Chiller Theater in Parsippany, New Jersey just announced that they're getting, like, as of right now, I think it's 4 of the actors that played clowns in the movies. Because Grant Kramer, he's done conventions before. He played Mike. And then Suzanne Snyder, who is the co-star, she's done conventions before. I've met both of them. But the clowns, man, they don't ever get very much love. I've never seen them. There's a couple of them that have done shows, but there's straight up like Shorty is going to be there. A couple of the other clowns are going to be there. So I have a full-size Killer Clowns poster that actually you helped me.
Yeah, me and Brady, we went when we met the Chiodo brothers.
Brady.
At Brady. I know he's listening, our son.
That's our son. Our boy.
Yeah, but we met the Chiodo brothers for the Critter Con. And honestly, that line was mostly filled with Killer Clowns stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Getting signed. But yeah, man, for sure. And they were amazing, actually. What sucks about that, though, and not to cut you off in your conversation, but they actually screened Killer Clowns like the week before at Mahoning. I'm like, motherfuckers, y'all should have just put that shit together in one weekend.
Yeah.
And then it could have been like a huge extravaganza, but no,
that'd be amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What I love though is what you're saying is so correct. Is this movie's finally getting so much love, dude? My daughter Kaya, actually, like on her first day of school, came in and showed me her new phone wallpaper, and it was a Killer Clowns piece of art. And she was like, "Oh, look at my," like telling me as if I don't know. And I'm like, "I showed you that movie." She goes, "I know,
that's awesome.
I know," and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like. My kid that's 17 is like down with Killer Clowns.
Dude,
that's fucking awesome.
That's awesome. The last that I heard is that Sci-Fi Channel was working on producing a movie, another Killer Clowns movie. That was the last that I heard. Yeah.
I mean, that was a question I heard in that line, waiting for their, the photo and the autograph the entire time, and they were just like, "We'll see. It's been discussed. We'll see."
Yeah.
But they don't have any rights, I guess, right now in terms of like what happens with it. Like they don't have like yes or no. We can do this. We can't. I don't know. That's what they were saying. So hopefully it happens. But I wouldn't want to see it happen without them. I mean, they're the brain children behind all of that, man. So that's super sick. You're going to meet them.
Yeah, dude. I'm so that'll put once I get Suzanne and Grant at Monster Mania on the full size, and then I add the clowns at Chiller. That'll be like 9 signatures on my Killer Clowns poster, which I never thought that I would have that many signatures.
Is that going to be enough, though, Jeremy? Knowing you, is that going to be enough?
Never enough, dude.
Never enough.
I need everyone. If there was somebody on set handing out tissues because it was cold, sign my fucking poster, bro. You were there.
Do you know who I really wanted to go to Chiller to meet?
Who?
Can you guess? It's one of the most obscure guests. It's 2 of them. It's a pair. I saw it and I was like, motherfucker.
Dude, I got their whole guest list is typically Batso. I have no idea. Dude, who is it?
Kid and motherfucking Play.
Oh,
House Party. House Party 1, House Party 2, and the worst of them all, House Party 3.
Yeah.
I love the House Party movies, and like, I don't know. I was like, holy shit, they're probably wicked cheap, and they're probably super down to earth, and I would love to. I mean, I just would like it if, I mean, the huge flat top came back, or he would like put a fake one on for the photo.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of like not a thing, but I was like, dude, for real? Kid and Play?
Yeah, dude.
Chiller, I've never been to Chiller. I know you've gotten so much stuff down there, but I'm like, they always get some really weird, obscure guests, like random person that was on Knight Rider. You know,
dude,
like, okay.
Their guest lists are so insane, but I will be forever grateful to Chiller because they did a Lamberto Bava Demons from 1985 reunion.
Man.
And I got to meet Lamberto Bava, and I got to meet Garetta and Bobby Rhodes. And dude, I would have never had that opportunity if it wasn't for them. Because you got to imagine that the tickets from Italy, where Lamberto lives, is probably super, super fucking insane and expensive. So he doesn't do very many U.S. conventions at all. So super, super thankful to Chiller.
So
for
not
that.
only have you met Argento, you've met
Bava.
Mario Bava's son.
Yep.
Oh man,
dude, Lamberto, man, he's one of my favorites, dude. Alone in the Dark is a fucking sick ass Giallo film, dude.
Oh man, I can't wait for that Alone in the Dark new Shout Factory Blu-ray that's coming.
Or is it no, I'm sorry, a Blade in the Dark. I'm sorry. I said Alone in the Dark.
Okay.
A Blade in the Dark.
You see, look, you just confused me. Look, not a flub. That's just confusion. But I thought about going because I desperately want to meet my favorite YouTuber, Dinosaur Dracula, and he lives in New Jersey, and he's been going to cons, and I'm like, I'll go possibly with
Dude,
just the
just
chance
come with me, man. Let's go.
Maybe.
Tell your wife you're going to the store. Hop in my car. Store had long lines, like really, really long lines that day.
Really long lines. And then when I come home and I'm like, why do you smell like Tito's vodka and pumpkin spice? What did you do all day? You're not getting any more action figures next week. No.
And your hair is cut just like the dude from Kid and Play.
Dude, which I wanted to do. I did a flat top like 6 years ago. And I literally, like, everyone hated it. Now, I even got messages from people like, you know, you're my friend and everything. You had beautiful hair. You ruined it. Don't do a flat top. And I was like, you look like you're in the military. I'm like, but I'm trying to be like, you know, early 90s Will Smith Fresh Prince.
Oh my God. That's so good. Dude, tell the audience what picture I just sent you.
Okay. Here it is. Probably, is that Slothfoot? It's if you listen to last week's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Jeremy's encounter with the legendary, God rest his soul, John Carl Beekler, and his foot, his bare foot, and Jeremy just sent me the photo. Have you received any messages from anyone asking for the photo?
No, I haven't, but I'm
really wondering.
I'm trying to make this a thing. Like, I've been sending that picture over to Kellen as well.
It's so fucking weird, man. It's so fucking weird.
It's kind of, you know, all of his toes are like the Spice Girls. They're all different colors and kind of doing their own thing, going in their own directions.
I gotta say, at least they're not those weird, like, lined yellow, disgusing, like, weird
dude, toenails like
that
fucking
are,
Frito,
like, curling
potato chip, fucking toenails.
I'm gonna throw up over here, but no, I mean, it just looks like he can climb a fucking mountain with those feet. That's like some Kong feet or something.
It's really fucking bad, dude. It's like straight mutant hillbilly feet. I love it.
But, man, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to this Fresh Frights review. We're gonna take a quick break for our sponsor, Evil Tea. And I totally forgot to mention this, that before I started having an actual drink tonight, I filled up my cup with some Evil Tea jacked up apple pumpkin chai tea. If you want to taste Halloween, you ain't tasted it yet until you had this tea. Limited edition. So when you listen to this promo, you'll get 15% off with promo code BRAINSTEW if you want this. I would highly recommend grabbing it now because it's only for this season. And if you like pumpkin, you like pumpkin spice and apple and chai and black tea, apple pieces and cinnamon, like literally the flavor of our favorite season, you have to try this tea. Absolutely delicious. So we're going to listen to this little promo break, and when we come back, Jeremy's Adventures.
Evil Tea.
We'll be right back.
The Brain Stew podcast is fueled by our sponsor, Evil Tea, by the Evil Tea Company. Steeped in darkness, Evil Tea brings a sharp and spooky variety of tea flavors, featuring robust and creative blends for all those tea monsters out there. Use promo code BRAINSTEW for 15% off your first order. Check out their website at evilteacompany.com to find the right blend for you.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back.
We're back. Come on.
Man.
You want to come back? Yeah.
Listen to the Brain Stew, come on.
You want to come on and listen to Johnny's adventures? Come on. It's so fantastic. I'm going to smoke a cigar. You know, all that good shit. Thank you for listening to this episode. We love you so fucking much.
Muchos
and appreciate
gracias.
Your support. But this is that segment that you get to hear about Jeremy's adventures. And this one is another one, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I received a photo, because Jeremy's a fucking prick, with no context, just ding! My phone pops up in a picture, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So this is directly related to the movie we're reviewing.
It is. It
Jeremy.
is, like, so much so that I ended up on set of Malignant on accident. So this was like literally absolute dumb luck. So I'm in California. It's during the Terminator Dark Fate release. You know, I'm a huge Terminator fan, as I've said on previous episodes. So I'm there for Terminator Dark Fate. You know, I got to meet Linda Hamilton, Taika Waititi, unrelated to Terminator, but I ended up meeting him while I was out there. Another random meet from that weekend was T.I., the rapper T.I., which is a funny story in itself, because literally I was walking down the street and I was like, yo, there's T.I. And I was like, T, can I get a picture with you? And he had a whole entourage and like security guards. And there was no way I was just going to walk up to him. And he was like, yeah, man, come on over. So I walked over and he was like, man, who's over there? Like, who y'all waiting for? And I was like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And T.I. was like, oh shit, Arnold Schwarzenegger up in there? So that was super cool. Yeah, so I ended up on the set of Malignant on accident, like literally stumbled onto the set. It was a crazy thing. It was awesome. You know, that whole week was nuts, man. I was in town for Terminator Dark Fate, as I've said in previous episodes. I'm a humongous Terminator fan, so I was in town for that. You know, I got to meet Linda Hamilton, Arnold, the whole cast. It was great, man. Randomly, I met Taika Waititi while I was in town. He was super nice. I got a picture with him. I met the rapper T.I. That was also super random that week. Yeah, dude, I was literally walking down the street.
That's random.
I was walking down the street, and it was right next to the hotel that like Arnold and such were doing press at. It was the press hotel, and I saw T.I. and I told my buddies. I was like, holy shit, that's T.I. And they were like, who? Because they don't listen to hip-hop. I was like, yo, that's T.I. He had like a bunch of entourage and security guards and shit. So he was somebody that I was not just going to walk up to. That would have been a bad call. So I called out. I was like, yo, T, can I get a picture with you? And he was like, yeah, come on over, man. So I walked over, got a picture with him. He was super cool. And he was like, he could tell that we were there to get autographs. He was like, man, who y'all here for? Who's over there? I said, dude, Arnold Schwarzenegger's in there. And he goes, oh, shit, Terminator up in there? So that was probably a horrible T.I. impersonation, but in my head, that's how he sounded. But, so, dude, yeah, Malignant, dude. That is so crazy.
Yeah, so how did this happen? Like,
yeah,
the craziest thing ever, right?
In between the Terminator Dark Fate shit, we had a little bit of downtime. So we're like, well, what do we want to do, man? So we had already hit up some of the Terminator filming locations. So my buddy Devin suggested, he was like, hey, let's go check out the house, the filming location from Poltergeist 2. I said, shit, I like Poltergeist 2. Let's go check out the house. He was like, yeah, dude, it looks the same. So we go, and we get our house. or we get our picture taken in front of the house, right? God is in his holy temple. You know, super creepy, Reverend Cain. And so after getting our pictures taken at the Poltergeist 2 house, we're looking around, and right down the street, we see nothing but production vehicles. We see big rigs, we see SUVs, we see lighting equipment, we see camera equipment, we see cranes, we see people running around with headsets like crazy, like chickens with their heads cut off, and we were like, oh shit, they're filming something over there. So we walked towards it. We decided to be what is referred to as looky-loos. We're like, yo, what is that? Let's go check that out. So we walked up, and one of the first things we saw, and I posted a picture of it on my social media, on the side of this big rig vehicle, it said Giallo Films. And I was like, okay, well, Giallo is a type of like Italian slasher film, right? Where typically the killer is not revealed until, you know, the very final reels or final scene of the movie. Typically, you know, the killer's hand will be showcased throughout the movie, or their silhouette.
With a black glove.
Yeah, with the black glove. Yep.
And a basic blade, right?
Yep, basic blade. That's a Giallo film, right? So we were like seeing Giallo on the side of this vehicle. I was like, oh fuck, well, most likely this is going to be a horror film. So thank God for the internet, you know, our little pocket computers. I pull out my phone, I put in Giallo Films. It pops up, James Wan Production Company. And I was like, oh fuck.
What?
James Wan is filming something. So we went on his IMDb next, as you do. And it was untitled. It was an untitled horror project from James Wan, is what it was referred to at that moment. So I'm like, dude, James Wan is somewhere on this street filming. So we walked.
Of course you would say that.
James fucking Wan, which, dude, Conjuring 2 is one of my favorite movies of like the past like 15
Me
years.
too, man. Me too. I love it. I adore it.
It's a terrifying movie. It literally scared me in theaters. James Wan scared me, which is, you know, I've been watching horror films since I was a little kid. That's a hard thing to do, and he did it. I love the guy's movies, so it's almost like, I know we're going to get into the review in a little bit, but it was almost like this movie, Malignant, I was predetermined to love from day one, right? So we walk down the street, and we see this tent that they're doing lunch. They're setting the lunch up. And we can tell that no one's eaten yet. They're just setting it up. And I was like, oh shit, they're about to go on lunch. So we literally wait, I'm not joking, 10 minutes. And people start walking off set, walking down the street. And so my buddy Devin was like, James will be the last one to arrive. The director is always last to leave the set. And so, cool. So we wait. I'm like, dude, so anxious. I'm like watching. I mean, dude, there's dozens and dozens of people walking off of this set. And I'm like, is that him? Nah, fuck, that's not him. Is that him? Nah, fuck, that's not him. Finally, the last person in the line, I was like, dude, there he is. There's James friggin' Wan, right? So he walks up. So he's an Asian dude that I believe grew up in Australia. He's got an Australian accent. So he walks up, and so it's me, my buddy Devin, and my buddy Aaron. And so we were like, hey, James, we're tremendous fans of yours. Can we get a picture with you? And he looked so confused, and he goes, how did you know we were here? No one even knows we're filming this thing. We haven't even really announced this thing. He asked. He was so curious. Like, how the fuck did you know we were here? I can only
imagine his face. I can only imagine the expression.
Yeah, he looked so confused. He was like, how the fuck did you know we're here? And so we pointed to the Poltergeist house. We were like, listen, man, we're horror movie fans. That's the house from Poltergeist 2. We just came here to get a picture in front of it and saw that you guys were filming. We Googled Giallo Films and saw it was your name, and we waited, man. We've only been here for like 10 minutes. And I swear to God on my life, Justin, he went, oh, that's fucking rad. Hell yeah, let's get a picture, man. Let's get a picture. So we got a picture with him. And so I had a blank, 11 by 17 poster print. It's just blank. And I was like, hey, man, I would hate myself if I didn't get your autograph. Would you mind signing this? He was like, oh, yeah, man, for sure. He was like, guys, it was great meeting you. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And went in to get his fucking bowl of chili or whatever they were having. It smelled delicious. But, dude, yeah, it was so random. So before we left, like there was some, the film took place in Seattle, and there was some police cars that said Seattle Police that I took my picture in front of, and we walked down up and down the street that they were filming on. What's crazy is that one of the victims in the movie, it was a blonde woman, if I'm not mistaken. So she had the back of her head bashed in, and like there was brains exposed. So like she was like walking in the fucking tent to get her bowl of chili or whatever they were eating, and I'm like, dude, the makeup looks so rad. It literally looked like her brain was hanging out of her head, and I was like, you know what? You get that bowl of chili. You earned that today. You earned that. So yeah, man, that's how I ended up on the set of Malignant and got my picture with James Wan and got my autograph. It was all by chance. It was really crazy, but super, super stoked, man.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, he's one of those that hasn't done conventions. He doesn't do, I haven't seen anyone talk about him doing signings or anything like that. He should, because I know he would do really well. I know there are a lot of big fans of his movies. But that's very rare. And I noticed when Cavity Colors posted your photo with all of you guys, I retweeted it on the Twitter because it's such an amazing photo of you guys. Like you can tell how surprised you all are to be like, wow, we're at the fucking Poltergeist 2 house and we're in a photo with James Wan like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
So that was my reaction, of course, when you texted me the picture later that day. I think that was either preceding or followed by a photo of you and Billy Zane wearing a derby cap or something. And I was like, okay, now I'm impressed.
LA is a wild place, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's an amazing story. So as always with Jeremy's adventures, they're always random and crazy. And it only could happen to you, right? It feels
I hope
that
so,
way
man.
to me.
I hope so. You know, a couple people tell me, they're like, man, you have the best luck. Sometimes, man. Sometimes. Not all the time.
Sometimes. Again, and we'll keep bringing this up, not to be a nail in your side or thorn in your side, per se. When Stephen King Fair comes up, we'll be bringing that one up. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this shorter segment of Jeremy's Adventures. We're going to hop into a quick promo break. And when we get back, it's a Fresh Frights Brain Stew review of Malignant.
Horogosaki.
We'll be right back.
What up? This is Dina Marie, the host of the TwistedPhilly podcast.
There's more mischief, mayhem, and nefarious goings-on in the city of brotherly love than Billy Penn could have ever imagined. We've got it all here on the TwistedPhilly podcast. True crime, haunted history, the coolest and creepiest places to visit. Welcome to TwistedPhilly.
You don't have to be from Philadelphia or Pennsylvania for that matter to get into this show. You just need to like some seriously weird, twisted shit. Plus, listening to me gush about the places I love to go, the history I love to tell, and the really sick, twisted crimes we've had going on here since back in the Victorian era. So come sit a spell with me in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. You can find me on iTunes and all the other major podcast apps.
And welcome back, all you gore hounds, to another Fresh Fright reviews of James Wan's Malignant. So what is Malignant about? I will tell you. Malignant is about Madison, who is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. So right off the bat, Justin, I'm going to tell you, my least favorite kind of movie is the kind of movie that the director and the writer plays with the audience of, is this really happening or is it in this person's head? I fucking hate those kinds of movies. When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh no, don't do this to me. I feel like they didn't toy with that too much.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that needs to be discussed, I think, before we even get into any of this is the fact that this film was marketed as it's an original movie. This is not part of a franchise that's already existing. It's not a sequel. It's not a reboot. It's just a James Wan original. And the trailer doesn't really give you much as to what the film is supposed to be. we had heard that it's supposed to be a giallo type of movie based on his comments. Yep. But he also said he wanted to make a genre bender or a genre blender, if you will. And I won't lie to you, man. The first time I saw the trailer, I was kind of like, okay. Because they only released the trailer like a month or so ago. It was like a month and a half. And I remember Joe from Movie Dumpster commented on our tweet about it like, not what I was expecting or hoping for, but okay. And that's the comment I've seen so many people say.
Yeah.
But most of them, and we'll get to this by the end of the review, end up being pleasantly surprised. There was a lot of secretive things about the way that Warner Brothers marketed this movie. It was very secretive. They didn't really want you to know much about it at all. What the funny thing is about it that I found after watching it, Jeremy, is that if you looked at the actual title of the movie, you could have connected the dots a little bit. But that's how, I mean, and no offense to any of our listeners, including myself. I'm just saying, I'm dumb too. You know, I didn't connect.
No argument there, Justin.
But how did you feel about? I mean, dude, you know,
I'll tell you right now.
We'll get into the movie, but in terms of the marketing, though, first, like in terms of how low profile and how small scale it was,
I believe the studio was not very confident in this movie. The marketing was very minimal, which, I mean, horror fans are discussing it. In fact, I mean, dude, all over social media, it's all people are talking about horror fan wise is this movie, and it's literally divided right down the middle. Either people
it
absolutely loving it or they're absolutely hating it. But I'll just tell you, you know, you talked about the first time that you saw the trailer. This was 100% totally not what I expected when I saw the trailer. And I feel like because of my experience, you know, stumbling on the movie when it wasn't even announced yet, like people didn't even know he was filming this thing. I found out about it kind of at the ground level before most people. I had a certain expectation towards it. And then, you know, Giallo Films, and in his interviews he said, you know, it's my take on the Giallo. And I was like, oh, fuck, man, we're going to get a James Wan slasher flick. Like, a James Wan dark, brutal
which is
slasher
something
flick.
We've never gotten. We've never,
No.
I mean, he's the king of... You know, he created, in essence, the torture porn.
Yep.
You know.
With Saw. Yep.
With Saw. With Lee Winnell. And then he is like the innovator for the modern haunted house flick. I mean,
for sure. There is nobody better in the game right now.
Nobody.
At building tension and creepy atmosphere and huge scare payoffs than James Wan. Period. Yeah. My dream is for James Wan to write and direct a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Like, that is my dream. I think there is nobody better on the planet another Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Yeah, you need to tell our listeners. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously a full spoiler review. This is what we do on this show. We're not holding back at all. But, Jeremy, you had this whole theory.
Crazy ass wonky theory.
It didn't play out. It didn't. But tell our listeners what you thought this was.
If my theory would have played out and been real, it would have blown people's minds. So this is a Warner Brothers film, correct?
That is correct.
Warner Brothers owns New Line. New Line owns Freddy. So Warner Brothers owns Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, Nightmare on Elm Street, the rights reverted back to Wes Craven's estate. I think we also discussed that recently. So it's a fact that Wes Craven's family has met with writers and directors that have been pitching a new Elm Street movie. So they're in charge of that. So they kept this movie so hush-hush. Like, do you remember a couple years ago when all of a sudden it was announced, like, Victor Crawley... You know, Hatchet 4 had been filmed completely in secret, and it was already done, and it was coming out.
I remember.
Like, dude, mind-blowing. So I was like, I told you, I was like, bro, like, the fact that they don't show the killer in the trailer, and that there's obviously some dream-like stuff happening, I was like, wouldn't it be the biggest fucking M. Night Shyamalan twist if this movie is actually a reboot or continuation of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and it's a Freddy movie, but they're not releasing that in the marketing. And then it further fueled the flames when James Wan made a tweet that he was like, don't spoil the end of the movie. Don't spoil the twist. And I was like, yo, this is going to be a Freddy movie. Like, which I think would be brilliant to do something like that. It would have
been. I would have been. And imagine the fan reaction walking out of the theater and the amount of publicity it would get. And in terms of like Twitter reactions and social media, people would be freaking the fuck out. That's the only problem, is that no one would be able to shut the fuck up about it. It would have been the cat out of the bag immediately, or the claw,
But I think that would have worked. Yeah, I think that would have worked in their favor, because even with people spoiling the twist, people would rush out to the theater like, I got to see this secret Freddy Krueger movie. So Warner Brothers, if you are listening, you should do that, because I feel like that'd be really rad. But
they need to do something with that franchise, but that's a discussion for a whole other
time.
But I mean, you were correct in thinking how amazing that would be, though. Like, that would be the right man to be behind the camera for something like that.
I need that in my life. So the trailer did not blow me away. I didn't love it whatsoever. I just said, okay, well, there's that. And what's funny is that Devin and Aaron, we all talked about it, and both of them had the same response, was, all right, well, that wasn't what we expected, but hopefully there's a reason that they didn't show very much in the trailer. It's because they want to blow us away with the movie. And so I watched it. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday to watch the movie before my kids woke up, before my wife woke up, so I could have some me time to watch Malignant in complete silence and give it my full attention. And I did, and I'm going to tell you right now, Justin, I was predetermined to like this movie because it's James Wan, right? I've intentionally not posted anything on any of my social media because I wanted to have this conversation with you, but I have to tell you that with every fiber of my body, I fucking hated this movie.
Oh my God.
I hated it, man. I hated it. Like, I appreciated elements of it. Like, first off, I'll just go ahead and tell you that Gabriel's weapon of choice was his doctor's trophy that he broke and he sharpens down. Right?
Oh, I love it so much.
I love that.
A trophy that says excellence inscribed on it.
I love that so much. I do love the Giallo moments that he incorporated in. However, this is what pisses a lot of fans off, is you can't say, like, for instance, you can't say, well, this is a ghost movie and only have a few little glimpses of a ghost throughout the film. Well, that's not really a ghost movie. I guess there's a couple little ghosty things, but that's not a ghost movie. So that's the same thing as this. He billed this as his version of a Giallo. However, it did not have enough of the tropes or the payoff that horror fans that wanted that were expecting. Like, he kind of billed it as that, and I don't think that's what we got. We got things that were inspired by that. We had some Argento color schemes going on, which I thought were great in some of the scenes. Like in the first scene, when they're in the hospital, there's some of the reds going on, the deep reds, if you will.
Of course.
for Argento. And I think the look of the killer was absolutely fine. I'll just tell you this right now. The kills are fucking incredible.
Yeah, which right? We'll get to. We'll get to the kills.
Oh, for sure. The kills were absolutely incredible. The killer looked cool. His weapon looked cool. Everything else, I hated with every ounce of my body, man.
Okay,
it fell apart for me, dude.
This is crazy. This is crazy because this is the first time on this segment where we are going to be completely opposite. I fucking loved this movie.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a quote from James Wan in terms of the Giallo influence. There's no denying the fact that I have always been a big fan of Italian horror films, and yes, this movie has the aesthetic of a Giallo movie, of the likes of the Bavas and the Argentos of the world. Because of the nature of the movie, you're naturally going to compare it to things that Cronenberg has done as well. I can't pinpoint it. Let's say one inspiration. I would say it's a combination of things. He led on after that to say everything. He was just trying to make a genre bender or a genre blender. It really is a blender of a whole bunch of stuff that influenced me over my years growing up and loving these kinds of movies. And for me, my reaction was this. The man made a $1 billion movie with what is Aquaman, right?
It's a great movie.
And after that movie, Jeremy decided to take a chunk out of his life to make this. Littered with camp, schlocky as all hell, but frightfully scary and delightfully gory and ultra fucking violent.
Mega violent, dude.
It was a fucking blast. The performances were over the top and at times very silly, but Malignant presented us with something we haven't seen hit the genre in a long time. A fun, unapologetic, and original concept that is a tribute. I would say a tribute, not an homage, not a direct representation of one individual genre, but a tribute to the films that we don't get much appreciation for anymore. The Wes Craven's shockers of the worlds, if you will. The Black Sheep. The movie knocked it out of the park in every single way because what it is, he just was allowed to make whatever he wanted to make and he made it. And for me, there's so much about this movie that hit so hard that I mean, like, what do I watch for comfort food after I record this show? What do I watch for comfort food when I'm feeling down? I make sure to find myself a shitty or tongue-in-cheek horror movie. If you're looking at a giallo logically, and I know a lot of people are calling this, they're saying this is not one. Sure, I get it. It's in terms of purity, it's not 100% one thing or the other. But I love that it melds so many different influences together, and the fact that it has the tongue planted firmly in the cheek.
Dude, this movie felt like James Wan took $1 million out of his bank account, and all of that went to the digital effects and some of the props and prosthetics, and then went, oh fuck, I don't have any money to pay the actors. Well, shit. And it was like he went down to the local YMCA and held auditions with 30 people and had to cast all 30 people that showed up. Only 30 people showed up to this audition, and he had to cast them because he had no choice because he needed to fill the roles. No. That's what this movie felt like to me, bro.
Well, that's what it felt like, but if you so any person that's watched any giallo movie knows that the acting is not the fucking strong suit of whatever that movie may be. It never has been. Acting is not a big part of those movies. In fact,
if this was a true giallo film, then I could have forgiven that, but it wasn't. It was billed as something that we did not receive with bad acting, man.
But here's the thing, though. It's billed. I will have to disagree with you. It's billed as whatever people are calling it. He never said this is a straight fill-in-the-blank movie.
Sure.
Not out of his mouth. Based on the quote I just read to you, what he was trying to make is just like a combination of things that he loved in movies that they don't get much love. The schlock, the tongue-in-cheek.
I appreciated a lot of it, but as a whole, it was horrible for me. Horrible.
I can't believe you're saying horrible.
I understand. I mean, dude, put it this way. His character development in this movie was so paper thin that you don't really know very much about these characters at all. It was like, okay, here's, this batshit crazy opening scene with, dude, it was like the actors in that opening scene didn't get any direction. Like, none of them knew what kind of movie they were making, so some of them were playing it straight, some of them were going over the top.
Oh, no, they're all over the top. I mean, dude,
it was ridiculous.
The whole movie, we're following Madison's story, and it develops from point A to point B to point C. And
very thinly, very thinly.
But dude, you're coming at this being anti. It's not full giallo when giallo films are at their core thin on character and full on visual and sound and all of the
the amount of times that I rolled my eyes in this movie, like, come the fuck on, dude. The moment that the husband was sitting, it was Jake Abel, and he played Derek Mitchell. The moment that Derek Mitchell he's introduced sitting on the bed in their bedroom watching UFC and just
he's a fighting boy. He's a this abusive relationship. Yeah, she's married to a bro. She's married to a bro.
Dude, the moment that he was introduced sitting on the bed like a fucking slub, you know, watching UFC, I was like, oh, well, he's going to be an abusive asshole. And sure
what
enough,
are you trying to say? I'm sure some of our listeners watch UFC.
No, it was the way they portrayed him, though. I mean,
he's douchebag of the top level, which, again, all of these characters in this movie are specifically written as archetypal characters. They're not meant to be taken seriously.
It's literally
the movie itself is not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant from the get-go to fool you, or to actually not fool us, but fool the GA into thinking, oh, this is just a bad movie. But what he's doing is taking the elements, and we can go through, I've got so many examples of this, going through all of the tropes of the bad movies we love, the movies that you have on your shelf, almost all of them, by the way, and just doing it in a serious manner, but like showing you.
This is what I'm talking about, the character development, though, is they had hardly even introduced Madison when she shows up home from work and is like, oh, I'm not feeling good. And then all of a sudden the husband's like, well, you're pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, he's just like fucking bashing her head into the wall to where I'm like, okay, so like there was no time in between of like building up this crazy relationship that they have. Just off the bat, it was just like, oh, I'm home from work, and the husband's like, I'm watching UFC. Time to bash your head into the wall.
He did say he's trying to stop drinking, so maybe he's in withdrawal. It's like his second day, dude. I'm just saying.
It was, so I rolled my eyes at that, and like the first scene was what really put me off, because I was like, okay, like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a comedy. I don't know what this is supposed to be, because the tone and the way that the different actors were all playing off each other differently, I didn't know what I was in store for. Next thing you know, I'm watching a scene where this woman is getting her head smashed against a wall from her husband.
Yes, but
like,
for me,
I'm like, okay,
we have to go before that, Jeremy. We have to start from the beginning, right from the get go. For me, this immediately felt like a Dark Castle entertainment movie. It felt like the opening shot of this giant gothic, the Simeon Research Hospital, was giving me like straight up House on Haunted Hill remake vibes. Like you can tell right from the get-go with that musical sting that this thing is prepping you for a fun time. Please don't go in there. He'll kill you. When the line is delivered like that purposefully, I know what I'm in for. I'm like, this was not meant to be like, we're doing a serious movie here.
But then the next moment it will be serious with people playing it straight. So like if you're gonna do that,
I didn't see it. But
if you're gonna do that, I feel like be consistent. And so at least I know what I'm watching. You know, when you're watching a trauma movie, they make sure you know you're watching a trauma movie. This one I was like, okay, is this supposed to be a comedy? Like, what is this? So, did not dig this thing from the very beginning, but I gave it a chance. And like I said, I did not overall enjoy this movie, and I'm letting you know that now rather than wait to the end, because I feel like I can't.
Well, no, this is our initial thoughts section or whatever, but
yeah, I can't. We can
talk about the elements of what this movie is, but like, I'm actually outright shocked. I'm not appalled, but I'm shocked that you, especially like with your knowledge of the history of this genre, didn't pick up on. Like, I did not.
It's not that I didn't pick up on. I just didn't like what was, you know,
right. But I mean, like,
was given to me.
I didn't feel at all that it was misdirecting in any way. I felt like from the get-go, it told you what it was supposed to be, and throughout the whole entire thing, it conveyed that and continued like that tone. I didn't feel like anybody else was off par with anybody. I mean, like, the acting throughout the entire movie, let's just make it clear. Annabelle Wallis as Madison, totally over the top. I mean, the wigs in this shit are the worst wigs you've seen in a movie.
Ever. Since like Halloween 2.
But for real though,
since Jamie Lee's wig in Halloween 2,
this shit is intentional. Like, it's not like they were like, yo, we're gonna do this movie, and which looks gorgeous. It's by far one of the most
looks beautiful,
visually stunning movies I've seen all year long.
But if that was their intention, Justin, why did they play it straight in the trailers? Like this was a straight up like intense horror film.
Because the reason for that is they don't want to scare the serious horror fans off. I think the one thing that I didn't happen to mention here is that I think everything about this movie felt like it was made by a horror fan for horror fans, from concept to execution. You know, it's again, appreciating those movies that are part of the genre that don't get appreciated. Like, okay, so not to babble on, but even if you're going to consider and compare it to giallo films, I'd say 9 out of 10 of those movies that I'll watch are not good movies. They look good, there's a good score, and the kills are cool, but the movie will start with a character that we don't give a fuck about, and that character will go throughout the entire movie, and we're supposed to follow them. But because it's old and from the 70s or 80s, and it's made by someone that has an iconic name behind them, we just follow through with it and go, oh, it's good. Think about the shitty movies Wes Craven made. Think about the shitty movies. I mean, Argento's made bad movies too. A lot of them, actually. So I think people are forgetting, I mean, when they're holding up this certain genre so high above their head, Wan just took what he loved about all those movies and just planted them into this.
Yeah, but the difference is that, you know, and I'll use, you know, even though Suspiria is not necessarily a giallo film, it has some of the tropes.
I think it is. I think it is. But
that's always been debatable. But, you know, you look at Jessica Harper's character, Susie Bannon, in Suspiria, right? And you give a shit about that character. Like,
yeah, but no backstory, though. The movie opens and she just gets from the airport into the car.
She's a fish out of water.
She's a dancer. She's just going to go to dance school. We don't really know much about her backstory at all. And we still don't find out much about her backstory.
You learn more throughout the film. She's a fish out of water, and she's having a hard time adjusting with these girls.
But this movie gives you a whole fucking backstory in every fucking detail of what this
Madison Mitchell is not likable. She's not a likable character. She's given no story development to make me care about her
How does she
whatsoever.
not get any story development? If you see her childhood, you see that she's had these problems throughout her whole life. She's got an abusive husband. She just wants to have a fucking kid. What's more relatable than that? You know, like, I'm just saying, like,
her character did nothing for me, and she was the lead.
That makes sense. But to say that a character like the one in Suspiria has more development, or it's just not fair, it's not true.
Susie Bannon and Jessica Harper had a vulnerable quality, like a Laurie Strode quality that you want to take care of, and you don't want them being thrust into, you know, peril and to the horrible things that could happen to them. I didn't feel like that.
To me, this is more about the mystery aspect of what this movie is trying to convey.
Sure.
Like, what's really happening? Like, the intrigue of it. I'm not as necessarily concerned with, like, yo, what happened to her in 3rd grade, dude? Did someone, like, put worms in her fucking sandwich at lunch or something? Like, I don't care as much about that, but I think we need to move on from the initial...
Can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you ever met anyone in your entire fucking life named Kakoa? Why is there someone named Kakoa in this fucking movie? That was another thing. And, like, when he would say his name, he would say his first and last name, but it sounded like one word. He was like, hey, I'm Kakoa Shaw. I was like, is this motherfucker's name Kakoa Shaw? What,
bruh,
what
he's Asian? That may be, like, I don't know. He's Asian, so I don't know what part of Asia he's, you know.
I literally paused the movie because I watched it on HBO Max, and I was like, I got to look at the IMDb, because is his first name Kakoa Shaw? Because that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but it's Kakoa Shaw.
Yeah.
He was maybe one of the most likable characters in the film, and he very little development on his end as well, but at least, you know, he played it straight, and he was somewhat engaging, and I think he gave a great performance for what he had.
I love what you're saying, and this is so exciting for me that on this Brain Stew segment we're actually disagreeing, because I didn't think he played it straight at all. He fell in line with everybody else. He's like, dude, you see his fucking abs showed in this movie. He's like, standing up there, and he's tongue-in-cheeking it like a motherfucker. He ate some Kraft macaroni and cheese before he was shooting those scenes. But, I mean, going back to the beginning of this thing, you gotta think, man. We're seeing straight-up brutality, this guard getting his arm
the kills
snapped.
are fucking awesome. You're
seeing this creature like humanoid through this medical tarp, and you're like, what the fuck is this? From that moment, seeing that practical effect, my eyes were wide. And then the credits hit, and boom, I was ready for a ride. I mean, you gotta start from the beginning and just kind of delve yourself into this movie.
More like a car accident, not a ride, but go ahead. Sorry.
A very fun one. I broke my fucking arm, bro, but it was fun. No, I get what you're saying about the characters, and I do have to respect, the differing opinions on this, that I think that it will either work for people or it won't, and I think it's that kind of movie. I'm going to keep going back to it. I'm shocked it didn't work for you, because I felt like, in terms of character, if you compare this, again, if we're going to keep comparing it to a Giallo movie, and I'll try not to do it as much, because I won't even lie to you, Jeremy, I don't think the Giallo influences were all that much really there.
No. A couple shots with the gloved hand and with the murder weapon, that was roughly when he was sharpening his blade. Yeah. That was a Giallo shot.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, there's some shots that look like it. There's some close-ups, that those really wide pans that go into like super close-up that are Giallo. It's very influenced by the look and stuff. But it's not a full Giallo movie. And I knew that from the get-go. So I was kind of like accepting of that right from the beginning. But the opening of the movie gives us traditional Wan haunted house atmosphere, jumps and jolts. And I love how it leads us down that path, trying to like convince the GA audience that it's just more of the same from Wan. But the man is a mathematician in terms of calculating his scares. As you said perfectly in the beginning of this conversation, he's always been one of the most precise. And he shows that throughout this entire movie. Whether you like the characters or not, like, let's face it. How many movies, Jeremy, how many horror movies do you and I both love where almost all of the characters are paper-thin archetypal characters?
I mean, that's I'm not even going to dispute that whatsoever. But me, in the present, I just did not enjoy what was presented in front of me. It was not a dish that I ate and enjoyed. It was a dish that I would have sent back to the chef because it was not for me.
Oh, damn. Well, let's get into some of the other elements of the movie right now, the kills, because it seems like that's something you did like, and I think that was 100% one of the strong suits of the movie. Also, something we've never seen Wan really do. I mean, Saw was one thing, but we've never seen straight on, like, head on motherfucker getting his face turning into meatloaf type of kills like we saw here.
Dude, it was a brutal ride. I mean, I will give it that. As far as delivering on the gore and the kills, this movie absolutely delivers. And like I said in the very beginning, I think the killer looks cool. I think the weapon is fucking awesome. I think the way the killer moves is fantastic and very original. I've never seen anything like that before. Wan excels at all of those things in this film. Another thing that I love is that the character Gabriel, who is the killer in this film, I love that he was nesting in Madison's own house right above her, and she had no idea. Like, he had abducted people and hid them in her house, and she had no idea.
So, ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert, like I said, he abducts his own birth mother, and when he puts her into this location and, like, basically hangs her from this roof.
The ceiling, yeah.
It looks like it's like some industrial plant or something, but later on in the movie, we find out it's Madison's attic in the house.
I love that.
I can't believe I didn't pick up on that, because when you look at the outside of the house, you can actually see that it's part of the architecture of the house with that window or whatever, but it's like with the little fan going. Craziness there, but yeah, I mean, the visuals
I love
of
that.
this thing.
I love that. And It was shot beautifully as well. You know, if I had the capability of going in and changing the things that I wanted to change, you know, like I would have changed, like I said, some of the character things, playing it straight, and I would have kept everything else the same, man. Like, the kills are fantastic. I should have loved this movie just on these things alone.
You should have. I mean, knowing you, that's why I'm shocked, but such a great conversation, though, because I did not expect this reaction. And
which is why I haven't posted anything.
How amazing is it that you didn't actually tell me?
Yeah. Oh, it was very tempting.
Anything
tempting.
Other than you were, like, excited to talk about it. But I got to pinpoint a few other elements before we get down to the nitty gritty, and then obviously our rating of the movie. I felt like the score by Wan alumni Joseph Bishara, Insidious, The Conjuring. I mean, dude even did Aquaman. The way the high strings wail and reverberate with a touch of Carpenter synth throughout, while also taking the time not only to enhance, but yet poke fun at some of these scenes here. Like, literally, there are stings in this movie, like musical stings that are there purposefully to make fun of the scene. What a old school slasher would do to try to enhance the scene and scare you, he's doing to do that on top of, like, hey, I know this is funny, where there's like a really loudly, where you see like a large sharp blade shining with a sparkle on top of it. I thought it was amazing and hilarious. Did you pay it?
Yeah, the score, dude. There was some really, really great stuff in there. In fact, I believe it was the main theme. It almost gave me some It Follows vibe.
Oh, definitely. It's not that's a very modern take on what they were trying to go for. I heard some It Follows. But tell me this, though. Is it just me, or does James Wan have like a true knack for choosing houses he knows will instill iconic imagery? I mean, I know there's like a ton of establishing shots of this house, but during the day, at night with some fog around it, but I want to fucking live in this house, man.
It looks awesome.
We rarely see modern horror movies portray this kind of legendary, imagery in terms of houses. Like, think about Amityville, think about Halloween, think about A Nightmare on Elm Street, think about all those iconic movie houses. We just really don't get them anymore. He did that with The Conjuring, and he's doing it again here.
It looks amazing. Yeah. I mean, whoever his location scout is, whether he's heavily involved in that or he's got his guy, they knock out the locations out of the park. I mean, from the house to some of the abandoned places that they run through,
like the underground Seattle scene,
like the underground Seattle scene, like, dude, all that stuff is absolutely creepy and eerie. Fantastic. I mean, the locations were great. It seemed like they spared no expense for the locations of this movie. I think the expense was spared on the actors.
Okay, so well listen, again, I thought the acting was on par with what they were trying to do. That's fair.
Who was great?
But I think you're wrong. But that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. You know who was great? Was McKenna Grace. And she's great in everything that she's in. She played young Madison. She's in the upcoming Ghostbusters movie. She, much like Joseph Bishara, she is a Wan regular. She was in Annabelle Comes Home. She was fantastic, man. The scenes that she was in as young Madison, I felt like were some of the strongest acting moments of the film.
Well, I loved that scene where she's in her room and she's on the very 90s fucking phone that you can see is like that see-through 3D phone where it's like lit up at the end, and you're like, everyone had that phone in the 90s.
Everyone had that phone.
There was like
awesome.
there was like 3 girls I banged in high school that all had that same phone.
That was the lit phone. That phone is lit, dog.
But
literally, because it lit up.
There are two scenes that I have to bring up to you. The jail scene, which is one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life. I knew this was a big setup considering the size of the set, because we could see how wide the shots were. You're like, okay, they're going to do something big in here because, number one, it's a big set. Number two, real jail cells, they don't put that many people in jail cells like that. It felt like an old Western where let's put like 50 people in, or like Death Wish 3 when Paul Kersey gets stuffed in that jail cell and immediately they try to beat his ass. Dude.
Did you recognize any one of the prisoners that was in there with her?
Oh, you're
one jumped out of the screen at me, and I was like,
"You're gonna make me think hard." I didn't.
I was the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the TV. That was me. I was like, "Oh!" So Zoe Bell from Death Proof was like the main.
Shit.
She was like the main
antagonist in that scene.
Antagonist,
oh no shit! I didn't even realize that. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was her. So I was like, "Oh shit, there's Zoe Bell. That's awesome." That scene reminded me, it was like a slasher version of the police station scene from the Terminator. Like,
well, dude, dude, I'm so happy you said that, because leading on at number one, that the jail scene with arms ripping through chests, heads smashed into the ground, necks twisted and arms snapped and skulls crushed, and then shortly after that, we do get an homage to the Terminator with a cop station scene. That was definitely fan service, but I loved every second of it. It's like Gabriel goes into this police station and brutally murders a whole police force.
Mows everybody down. That was fantastic. I've got no qualms with any of the action or the killing or the gore. I've got no qualms whatsoever.
Or any of the stuff that actually counts in this kind of movie. I gotta bust your ball. I have to bust your balls, because it's like, what really makes this movie is the elements that are the strongest. And
I didn't like the characters.
I liked, like I said in the beginning, I liked a lot of things about this movie, but I did not like this movie. So let's just get into the full spoiler, right? So people who have not seen Malignant, they don't know the twist ending. You know, this is what James Wan was warning people, like, don't ruin the ending. So I'm telling you now, we're about to ruin the ending. So you find out twist. There's some corn for you. Yeah, so you find out in the beginning of this that Madison had essentially another fetus was in the womb with her, that both fetuses absorbed together. So essentially, she had literally a face on the back of her head, okay? She had arms growing out of her back, and they looked at it like a tumor, like an evil cancer. Like an evil cancer that needed to be cut out, because they realized that Gabriel was not something pure and something that needed to be of this earth. So they decided they were going to essentially separate the two fetuses, and Gabriel was going to go bye-bye, right? So they did, and Madison moved on with her life, didn't even have any recollection of any of that, as she was very young. And so in the beginning scene that I loved so much, of the boyfriend watching UFC that smashes her head up against the wall, somehow it reactivates Gabriel, who's been living, a part of Gabriel was essentially pushed back into her skull. Like, they cut off, like, the fetus, I guess, whatever you want to call that, and there was a little bit of the tissue still left, and they just pushed it back into her head. So what we're being,
just gonna shove this shit right in the back of her fucking skull.
Yeah, so apparently what they're selling us is that, like, a little bit of Gabriel went back into her skull. So once she got her head smashed by the loving husband, it reactivates Gabriel, and Gabriel comes back. So she goes on spouts of blacking out, and Gabriel takes control of her body, and he's literally opens her skull, and his face exits the back of her skull. And so now the reason that the killer looks so cool when Gabriel moves is because
it's backwards.
It's backwards.
Yeah.
It's like the Tom Green, Freddy got fingered. I'm the backwards man. I can move fast as you can. It's like the straight backwards man status. So Gabriel is going, and he's getting revenge on all the people that have fucked him over and ruined his life, and Madison has no idea that it's her body that's actually doing the kills, but it's her brother Gabriel that lives in her skull that is the one that's doing it. I think that is so batshit crazy that I'm on board with that, man. I'm okay with that.
I love that. I mean, when it hit in the theater, that's why the marketing of this movie was so hush-hush. They didn't want you to know that. And when it hit in theaters, I think it landed really, really well. Regardless if you liked the movie or not, again, because someone at the end of this movie in the theater that I was in, as soon as the credits rolled, stood up and said, "That is literally the worst movie I've ever seen." They said that out loud. That moment hits, it lands, because
they apparently have never seen Dario Argento's Dracula.
Oh, God. Or, well, I'm not going to mention other filmmakers' movies during this discussion, but no, for real, it's a great twist. That's why the trailer is so minimal. That's why they didn't want you to know as much about this movie as possible, so they could surprise you. The element of suspense and shock, and hey, we're actually trying to give you something different here. It's not necessarily different because this is how horror movies used to shock and surprise people back in the day all the time, before social media, before trailers would give you every single element of the movie, before the posters would show you all the characters in one image.
Back when you used to just have to read Fangoria magazine, hoping to get little
to find out anything,
information.
To find out anything, literally. So yes, we find out this about Madison, and I love that this is it's very much like, it reminds me of so many things, but it harkens back to the old school sensibilities of the schlocky horror movies that were trying to be serious from back in the day that most people don't appreciate anymore. And that's why I loved this movie so much. I mean, there are elements that are frustrating. I'm not going to make any mistake and say that. But the moment that the line is uttered, "So you want me to put out an APB on Sloth from the Goonies?" I was like, this movie's for me. Yeah. And I'm fully intact and ready for anything it has for me. And the ending is just batshit crazy. I mean, we have that jail scene we talked about, the fucking Terminator homage in the cop station, which, by the way, I find this hilarious as well. I don't think anyone else picked up on this, but cop stations in movies are always so fake, because if you've ever been arrested, they're always like tiny little boxes. And I think this is James Wan's version of like making fun of that. Like, hey, let's pick the biggest fucking most beautiful historic room ever, and it's totally empty except for a few people for a police station, because no police station has a room that gorgeous, but it gives for a great setting for that fucking sequence. And obviously we find out Madison's mom abandoned her, and that's why she looks identical to her with the same fucking haircut and everything. And the movie ends on a cliffhanger, kind of opening it up for a sequel, which we know we are not going to get. But I love that little spark sound.
I don't know, man. It's possible we could get a sequel, because it seems like people are showing up to this thing. As far as box office wise, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, Jeremy, 15.1 million on a $40 million budget. That's not good opening weekend. It took like second or third, I think.
But again, if they wouldn't have dumped this same day on HBO Max, people would have gone to see it. I would have gone to theaters to see it. But if I can watch it from home, busy schedules, all right, this is more conducive for me right now if I have the option. But I would have gone to theaters and paid for it. So that's how this streaming stuff is working. However, what's not being factored in is HBO Max paid them to get that title.
They did pay them. They got a deal. They did get a deal for that. So, who knows how much that is? I highly doubt it was as large as whatever the budget was here.
No, but I bet you it was substantial. Had to have been.
I'd love to know the amount, but I mean, in terms of what this movie's going to make back is neither here nor there. I think the important thing here is discussing the legacy of what this movie is going to convey, what it's going to give to fans. And Jeremy, I saw someone say this on Twitter, and I hate the fact I'll quote them in some way, in a half-assed way without actually mentioning their name. But someone said, hopefully someday we can look at Malignant and it can be some kind of Rocky Horror for real horror fans, like where you could go late at night, have a few drinks after like a wild night with friends, family, you know, your besties, and just laugh at it. And I laughed at this movie throughout. Where you found issue with characters being weak or underwritten or vastly underperformed, you know, for lack of a better term, I found it as just an absolute tongue-in-cheek, cornball, campy blast. And with lots of great kills. I mean, dude, there are scenes in this where that knife, it's being dug into people's heads and there's blood splattering everywhere. And Wan has never done that before in a movie. And we rarely see that in big budget horror. So for me, we're gonna end out this review here with our trash it or treasure it. I'm going to throw it to you first. I think everyone listening knows where I'm going to go with this, and they know where you're going to go with it. But we just got to say it. It's the official.
Before we get to that, my buddy Derek Troxel, he sent me, we were talking about the movie through Messenger, because I didn't want to post anything on my social media, because I didn't want to have this any kind of discussion about this until we talked about this, because it's one of those movies that people are out there heavily debating, and I think it's really cool that we have a new hot topic movie to discuss, right? Like, this is something that horror fans are just...
We should be thankful for this, I think. Yeah.
I agree, man. It's got people talking, and it's got these discussions flowing, and I think that's really awesome when this happens, that people have showed up for this movie, whether it be in theaters or HBO Max. But this is what my buddy said. He said, the scene in the station looked like a butthole with teeth playing Neo from The Matrix taking out the cops. And when he said it looked like a butthole with teeth, I laughed quite a bit. And then he said another little quip about the movie. He goes, "Malignant, more like meh-lignant." And I thought that was pretty funny, because it's kind of, me and him obviously shared a little bit.
That would be funny if the whole meth thing wasn't already attached to every other. Just saying, live on Twitter for 5 months and you'll see.
I'm not on Twitters. I'm not what they call the sophisticated types.
Way worse. Yeah. I'm not at all either. I'm just trying to fit it on there. But no, I mean, like, as you said, rightfully so, and that's why I love this discussion that we had tonight. Finally, we disagreed on a movie. I mean,
I feel like people that listen or have been listening to Brain Stew, they're probably up to this point. We're like, man, this Jeremy guy he likes everything. He just likes everything. Well, no, I Malignant was not one of those things that I liked. So Justin, trash it or treasure it, my friend. I'm going to trash it.
Yeah, and on the opposite side of the spectrum, I'm going to treasure the motherfuck out of this movie. Now, I'm not saying it's another Night House. I mean, this is not connected to any emotional tissue in my brain where I'm like, I can relate to the characters so much. I mean, this is by far, from start to finish, as campy, as schlocky, as tongue-in-cheek as it gets, and I love those kinds of movies. Jeremy does too, but it just didn't work for him. It worked wonders for me. I even watched it a second time tonight before this review, just to make sure, because I want to make sure I'm delivering the most appropriate opinion and the most valid opinion based on my own shitty, tiny little, I mean, maybe I have like a weird little brain in the back of my head that's connected to like some Siamese twin that was ripped off my body, and that's what's telling me what to say this. I don't know, Jeremy. I know I'm pretty
sure his name would be Tito.
What's that mean? Taco Supreme. But yeah, for real. I mean, I'm going to treasure this. I'm going to buy it. And I have to show the deepest amount of appreciation for James Wan for, again, like I said earlier on, he made Aquaman. It made like $1 billion upon trillion fucking whatever the number is. And he said, yo, I'm going to go make a movie that pays homage to all the movies that don't get appreciated from the genre. It's not going to be another Halloween. It's not going to be another, fill in the blank. This is going to just be, like he said, a genre blender of movies that he grew up loving and just come at it. Now, he wasn't the only writer on the script. We know that. We're not going to get into the details of that now, but I think overall, This is a movie that I will continue to watch. And after watching it a second time tonight, 100% can't wait to buy the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray of this movie and champion it anyway. I gotta listen to the score. Let's do it at the gym earlier. I loved it. So that's it. I treasured it. Jeremy, for once, trashed something. I think that's a first, right? That's the first time, right?
That is the first. And dude, it breaks my heart to trash it because I do love James Wan. He is a master of horror. Everything that he's put out. Dude, I liked fucking Dead Silence, okay?
I like Dead Silence too, man.
Yeah,
I like it too.
Everything the guys put out, I've loved. And it hurt my heart that I did not love this, but not everything is for everyone.
Exactly. And I can't agree more with you on that. That's something that, Jeremy, I've said since I've met you, and I've had to say on social media 1,000 times. Actually, someone commented on Facebook, I posted I was watching the movie, and their comment was, I heard this was shit. And I was like, well, did you watch it? And they didn't respond. It's like, film is subjective, yes. And people forget to understand when they say, I can't believe so-and-so didn't like or dislike, fill in the blank. They're missing the point and the basic understanding of personal preference and subjectiveness. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to tug on your balls and stretch them behind your back and pull them until they're about to snap off by busting your balls about not liking a movie. And to be fair, I took it easy on you this time.
Nah, man, let me have it, bro.
We'll see. But ladies and gentlemen, that is our review for James Wan's Malignant. We'd love to know what you thought of the movie. In the comment section on this post, tell us, did you like it? Did you hate it? We know there's no real in-between with this one.
No, there's not.
It's kind of like a yes or no type thing. Like, back when we were in middle school or whatever, and a girl would send you a note, or you would send her like, do you like me, yes or no? There was no in-between there. Was there? Was there like a maybe?
No, it was check yes or no.
Right. You knew one way or the other if you were going to get a date to the dance and dance to whatever fucking Counting Crows song they were playing that week. I don't know. I'm just saying. So we're not playing around here. That's it for this week for our Epic Film Guys Brain Stew Fresh Fright review. We just want to thank you all for listening so much to this episode. You are the reason why we do what we do. And if you heard earlier on in the episode, we are still doing that Halloween Kills poster giveaway. So if you like what you're hearing, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can check us out on social media at Epic Film Guys, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere. And Jeremy, where can they find you if they want to just
I'm on the
look at your posters and stuff.
I am on Instagram, JT_pumpkin_guts, GUTZ. But the best place to really get in contact with me is on Facebook. I'm Jeremy Todd Moorhead. That's where a lot of my collection stuff is. I share pictures of my autographs, my collection, different conventions that I attend.
You as James Wan, from the set of Malignant.
James Wan. Yeah, so, find me on the Facebooks and I'll accept your friend request.
You better get there and do that shit. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again. And until next time, I'm Justin.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we're asking you to keep it
creepy. Brain Stew.